Alright, so we've got our 6.4 Hemi intake manifold that I bought a while ago sitting here. And maybe we'll see about getting it in the charger today. So I took the engine cover off, but I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too big of a swap, other than, you know, unbolting, disconnecting the fuel lines and making a mess is probably the biggest thing. But otherwise, pretty much just unhook the injectors, some emissions crap, and unbolt it. I guess it's made easier since these don't have any sort of water or anything going through them. Yeah, just those little rubber seals for the intake runners to go to the head, which I have new ones for. The first step, is, which someone has sort of already helped us in, is just got to remove the fuel rails. This came with the 6.4 fuel rails on it whenever I bought it, but where you don't want to have to mess with getting things retuned immediately, so we'll take these 6.4 injectors off and put the 5.7 ones on it. Well, that is coming off a lot easier than I thought it was going to. Yeah, that was actually not on there. Yep, that was on there. Yeah, sounds like there's still a little bit of fuel in these. I have the new little intake seals. These old ones on it don't look too bad, but since we have new ones and they're only a couple bucks, we'll get them on there anyway. That appalling racket gets down the road. Of course, one thing that little intake manifold seal set didn't come with was these little seals for the, I guess, the oil fill and the PCV system. Now, some of this oil that's on here, like down here, I think came out of the intake, which means I probably should try and clean it out. There's probably some oil pulled in it, which hopefully shouldn't be a problem for my car anymore, because I have a catch can on it, but looks like there might be a little bit of oil residue in there. Alright, so the next thing we've gone ahead and done is pulled the fuel pump relay from the car, and we let it try to turn over once, which of course just resulted in it coughed briefly and ran the starter for about 7 seconds. It's one thing that's irritating about these push-button start cars. But now we should be able to disconnect that fuel line from the rail and hopefully not make too big of a mess. Now I have fuel line disconnect tools, but it doesn't seem like that's really needed on this one. It seems like just that little clip. So hopefully with the pressure bled off of it, we don't end up with a massive mess here. But got some paper towels handy just in case, but hey, depressurizing it seemed to work. Anyway, we'll just wrap that up. And some of these injector connectors are being a little funky, but you gotta pull up the red tab first, and as you can see, I've broken a couple of them already. But yeah, see, most of them are coming off fine. I guess I just had one or two that were moody. But that gets those off. And got the throttle body connector. I'll stick that there so it's out of the way, but there's one little connector back here. Honestly don't know what this thing is. It might be a manifold pressure sensor. But that's off. So I think all that's on there yet is there's one vacuum hose that goes to the back of it that's marginally annoying to reach. So we'll wait until the manifold's loose, I think, to pull it off. But there, it looks like these intake bolts are 8mm. So we'll just go sort of loosen them, and we'll try to loosen it evenly since it is plastic. Alright, everything is unbolted. All the bolts are loose. They're sort of captive, so they stay there. Pulled this off. So the only thing that should be on there is that vacuum line I was talking about on the back, which I don't know if it can easily be pulled off. Man, I can't get a good angle on it, so we'll just see once it starts coming out. But I'll set this up here and see if this comes out now. Yeah, it's really loose. One more thing. That might help. See, and this is that vacuum line or whatever back here. It seems like it's just pressed on, but it's just stiff. One intake. So here's a Hemi without an intake manifold. That little hose right there was all that damn hassle. And all I had to do was slide off. Nothing, fancy to it or anything, just a little hose pressed on to the back there. Was the hardest part of removing an intake manifold. There, so now we got to switch the fuel rail and I guess the throttle body. And I guess this PCV hose we really don't need on the new one because it'll be replaced with the catch can parts. But we'll go ahead and pull it off of there. Yep, 14. Even though I don't think the engine cover is going to fit on with the 6.4 intake anyway. But I think we'll have to end up reusing those because even though my new intake did have the fuel rails, it didn't have the bolts holding them down. So here's a do as I say and not as I do moment. I forgot to go buy new O-rings for the injectors, so we're going to be stuck using the old ones. Going to spray a little WD-40 around each of them to lubricate them on the way out. But given that the car's only 5 years old, I don't think they'll be too bad. Yeah. She was popped loose, and then just do that there. There. So the injectors are free there. And all the O-rings look actually in good shape, so I think we lucked out. Alright, so now we just gotta set this on the 6.4 intake. And all those look like they're in pretty good shape. And they're all still lubricated with some WD-40 now. So we'll set them in place. I'm going to need to shuffle this out of the way so the vise is out of the way here a bit. But there we go, they're all seated. And we're all set in place over here. So partially for the sake of keeping the engine clean and in terms of keeping dirt out of it, and partially for the sake that I'm just a bit OCD, I'm going to vacuum out around the intake runners so nothing gets in them. Wipe up around the ports with some brake clean too. So hopefully things will still seal nice. So I bought this car with about 20,000 miles on it, and one of the first things I did was put a catch can on it. Yeah, you can see where the spray pattern of the injector keeps things clean there, but there's some gooey sludge stuff at the top. And I'd want to wipe it up, but I don't want to knock stuff down onto the motor. And we'll see if we can just wipe some of it off with a paper towel.
Which ones?
See the old paper towels that are just jammed down in it?
You want to pull them all out right now? Whole thing?
See, I was kind of wanting to get it mostly in place first. Those are in there so it doesn't get
Dust
down
and brew. Yeah, no, I understand that.
So I kind of want to set this in place. Well, mainly I want to get this on and this out of this whole job, apart from cleaning up that bit of messy stuff, getting this hose pulled off was the biggest pain
I bet it was.
of the whole thing, because it was on there stuck. Yeah, actually, I may as well just go ahead and pull all those out.
Yeah, I was like,
there's one in each intake runner. Then on the front side, there's
what about this?
a little
here
oil gallery.
You want me to take it off this?
No, leave it on the fuel line.
Okay.
Okay. Camera fell. Yeah. I greased the little nipple so that it slid right. I literally spent half an hour messing with that before because it was dry, so I was like, yeah, just put a little bit of grease on there, it'll save me a hassle in the future. Sure enough, it slides right on. And if I ever take it off again, it'll probably slide right off. Yeah, just gonna bolt this back down, then
Can't see crap with this camera.
go from there. Well, it's because the screen's off, Zach.
I don't know how to turn these things on.
See, now it's on. Okay, so we had a minor technical difficulty here. The wiring for what I'm fairly sure is a map sensor wouldn't actually reach around to the 6.4 map sensor, which the connector is on this side of. So we got the one from the old intake, which fits on here. It looks like the same, but the 6.4 intake doesn't have the keyway in it to lock it into place. So I had to make this little bracket that just goes over top of it and screws into the original bolt hole for the 6.4 one, so that should get the job done. Okay, so it's all bolted on now. It's just got to fit all the rest of the stuff on here, I guess. I might want to go buy this line for a 6.4 Hemi so it'll fit down there better, but for now it'll fit there. Throttle body's on. Figure that hose out and plug the injectors back in and get the air hose hooked up. Okay, so I think we're all ready to go now. Everything's tightened, put back on, connected. I'm gonna buy the correct hose for this, but for now a piece of a old heater hose from one of my 928s is serving as the, I guess, the crank breather. But everything's connected. Here, I'll employ Zach to hold this, and I'll see if it'll start. Fuel lines were disconnected, so it might have to crank for a minute until the fuel pressure gets there. that's good. It's not catching fire. Yep, so I'd say that worked. I don't hear any hissing or air leaks.
Smells interesting.
Probably smells like whatever oil or whatever was on there burned off. And you probably smell the air is kind of sagging. You might be smelling some of the exhaust blowing back up here. But looking around, I guess you can look for fuel leaks. I don't see any. No fuel leaks over here. So I think we can call that good. We didn't hook up the short runner valve for the variable length intake runners yet, but we'll do that once I decide how I want to hook that up. But for now it's just long runner, which is still an upgrade over the stock manifold. So now, yay, more torques.